It's Doomsday! Goddamn, we're in the trenches now, lovelies. If you tuned in last week, you'll have seen me nailing the coffin shot on episode 2 by jamming my chainsaw through a cyber demon's ballsack. Meaning we're at the halfway point as we descend into hell itself in episode 3, Inferno. All secrets, no deaths so far on our ultraviolence run. Let's keep that shit going as we move into the first stage, Hell Keep. These are the switches we're dealing with now. Vajaya balls. Now we're going to want to conserve as much ammo as possible on this first map, so we're going to let these idiots kill themselves. Or rather these cacodemons. Come on boys, time to put a shift in. It takes a little bit longer this way, but it's worth what we'll save. We'll leave them to it for now. Come back round to murder the winners. You gotta watch out, this fucking bridge disappears from right underneath you here. Pistol starts with a job load of cacodemons, imps, pinkies, and no berserk or chainsaw options, no fun at all, lovelies. And it doesn't set us up particularly well for the next map either, so we're gonna piss these off, seal them in here, and use their cluster fuckery to our advantage later on. So let's recap the story so far. After using the dimensional teleporter on Phobos to reach the twin moon Deimos that the demon stole by teleporting it out of orbit, we battled our way through the installation to face the cyber demon ruling the base at his newly constructed command post, the Tower of Babel. After sending him back to his red daddy minus his gonads, we discovered that Deimos was actually floating above hell itself, and apparently repelled, actual term used there, repelled down to the surface of this most legendary of accursed lands in search of a way out. Alright, that's good. Let's mop these up. Now, hell, as it's represented in Doom, is somewhat vague. It seems more like a particularly nasty dimension rather than the actual biblical hell, even though hell was never actually mentioned in the Hebrew Bible, but that's a whole other discussion for another time. But it's still taken on a somewhat traditional appearance of fire, blood, tortured bodies and pentagrams. A lot of how we picture hell in the modern age actually comes from the vivid descriptions of it written in Dante Alighieri's Inferno, dating back to the early 1300s. Everything from the circles, the punishments, the traditional depiction of Satan himself, all comes from Dante's work, so really, outside of one verse in the entire Bible that refers to a hell-like place called Tartarus, which in Greek mythology was a prison for the defeated Titans, and in the Bible was a place for fallen angels awaiting judgment, there is no biblical hell to compare it to, other than the one in popular culture. But here in Doom we can see that the demons who inhabit this dread dimension have begun to assimilate the technology of man for their own nefarious purposes, resulting in the cyber demon with his mechanical romper stompers, and as we'll find out later, the spider mastermind who is just the fucking worst. Now we must visit the Slough of Despair. Such Slough, very despair. It is Slough, by the way, not bloody Sloth. Sloth of Despair. Sounds like a haunting deleted scene from the Jungle Book, where a tree-dwelling sorrow mammal seizes control of Mowgli's mind and tries to force him to commit suicide. Although I hear Slough is an acceptable American pronunciation. It's not really though. Slough, that's how you fucking say it. It means a swamp or marsh. Although you could be forgiven for pronouncing it sloth, spelt the same way but actually a term for the shedded skin of a reptile or amphibian. There's a well-known town in England called Slough, named so because it was built on and around a large patch of black bog, and it's such a miserable fucking place that the residents are thinking about changing the name. It won't make a difference. A rose by any other name, Slough. A rose by any other name. The poet John Betjeman wrote a delightful poem about it in the 1930s. Allow me. Come, friendly bombs, and fall on Slough. It isn't fit for humans now. There isn't grass to graze a cow. Swarm over, death. There's more, but you get the gist. He got his wish though, because a few years later World War II was in full swing and Slough got bombed to fuckery. I bet he felt like a right cock. Anyway, there's many fair strategies for this map, but as you can see my preferred method is to run straight to the berserk pack, take advantage of the narrow maze-like paths to give us the age-old tactical combat advantage of divide and conquer. We're still building up our arsenal for the final push into hell itself, so we want to be as conservative as possible. This would be a perfect map for the chainsaw, but can you fucking believe it, we don't get a chainsaw in this episode until the 5th level. The 5th fucking level. What a joke. What utter bullshit. I hate hell. Stingy crimson shithole. This map's actually shaped like a giant skeletal hand to look at it from above, and we are just about done with the palm now. Just got to go down here, grab the first secret, which you can only access by stepping in the little lava pool there. But you get a chain gun out of it, so great success. Worth the burnt toes. And now we'll head down to the little finger and work our way across. Nothing too complicated. You can ignore that central maze completely if you want to. Nothing fundamentally important in there. Now it's said that the level name is a reference to a passage in the 17th century religious work The Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan that mentions a Slough of Despond, which wouldn't be too far outside the realms of probability given that there's quite a few biblical and ecclesiastical nods in Doom. 8 out of 9 of the levels in the 4th episode are named directly after Bible passages, with the exception of the secret map, Fear, although the word fear is in the Bible a lot, over 500 times, so count it if you like, I guess. We can relax and fall back on the shotgun a little bit now, as there's a fair bit of ammo kicking about for it, but we'll need the chain gun right here. My entire ammo conservation strategy for the first level and the opening of this one falls directly to this fucking encounter. There's just no other way to reliably pin the fuckers back. You could spunk a rocket on them, I guess, but not enough to make a difference, really. You let them get away from you, and before you know it, they're bloody here, there, and everywhere, and you're running around trying to pull one of them down while 3 others are trying to crawl up your arse, and ugh, no, it's just chaos. More than I want to bloody deal with, anyway. See, this is how I like my lost souls. On their own, getting punched in the face. Why would you make an enemy that was just one giant face unless you were meant to fucking punch him in it? It just follows reason. And as anyone will tell you, I'm a reasonable man. Except that one guy, he's crazy. I wouldn't have had to break into his bathroom if he just opened the door like a normal human being. Some people. Alright, we got this helpful pool of neon hell goop cluing us in on the location of a soul sphere here. Thanks, goop. It's guarded by invisible hate demons, but thankfully, like many of hell's denizens, they respond poorly to being walloped in their camouflaged screech holes. Still punching stuff, even in hell. Couldn't give a fuck. If Satan was in this game, he'd get it straight in the fucking beak as well. Alright, we're nearly done. We've got this interesting parade of sergeants here, lined up like they're on display at a museum. There you go. That's ruined that. If you came all the way to hell to see the possessed sergeants of the world exhibit, you'll leave disappointed now. It's been replaced by the effects of a shotgun on captive flesh. A work by Fraggers B. Fragningham. That's just my artist pseudonym, by the way. It's not canon. Don't put it on my Fragnostic wiki. I really want someone to make one. In fact, my missus googled me a while ago to see how famous I was, and the answer is not very, obviously, but somebody's made a list of all their favourite quotes of mine. That's amazing. I can't tell you what pride that gave me. There's tons of them on there. Yeah, I tried to act cool about it, but I've saved it to my favourites. I check back there every now and again to see if I've added anything. Thanks whoever did that. My ego is now swollen to the level of aroused megalodon. There's the plasma rifle, and now our arsenal is starting to look a little more rosy cheeked. Oh, there you go, that's the Slough put to sleep. Well done us. But now we descend into Pandemonium! It's not quite as pandemonic as it'd have you believe. It's actually fairly calm. But then the word itself is actually a name that first appeared in John Milton's Paradise Lost that refers to the capital city of hell itself, combining the Greek root pan, meaning all, with the Latin suffix ium, thereby literally creating the place of all demons. Although in common usage the word has come to mean chaos or tumultuous disorder. Facts, facts, facts. I love facts. You know, I've always found that terrifying things become less so the more you humanise them, which is really a lead on to me wondering what in the fuck demons would even have in their capital city. I'm just thinking of my town right now. Alright, so let's say you're a journalist and you get an exclusive chance to go and cover hell. You know, like when the BBC get a tour around some Afghani war general's camp or whatever. So you get your camera crew together, which is difficult because Bob takes some convincing. He did some stuff back in the day that he's pretty convinced that the devil's not going to let him back out for. So you email Satan at bigredmachinebc@aol.com and you make him promise not to drag Bob off to the meadow of flaying or the tea rooms of mutilation while you're there. And Satan says, yeah, whatevs. But Bob's not buying it. He keeps saying, there's something about this guy I don't trust. Well, like what, Bob? You say, like he's the fucking devil, for fuck's sake. Go home. I'll take Ted instead. So you, Ted and Barry, the sound guy, go onto the agreed place at the agreed hour, and then dost thou strip naked and reciteth the black verses whilst chucking the sack of kittens in the fucking river or whatever. And the soil bubbles and seethes like boiling blood. And there, before you, gapes the entrance to hell itself. And there's an imp standing there with one of those name card things. So you, Ted and Barry get chauffeured down the River Styx in a luxury canal boat made from the bodies of anybody that died wearing a Coldplay t-shirt because pussies float better for some reason. And besides all the wailing and cursing of the black name of Chris Martin, it's really not too bad at all because despite himself, Satan obviously wants some good press out of all this. So he's laid out some biscuits and some punch. He's got a hell baron in a tuxedo on the deck singing Sinatra to keep you entertained. I mean, you think it's Sinatra, the only notes he can hit in sequence are the ones that make up his demonic battle cry. So New York sounds like a 3-minute portmanteau of various cows falling down a well, but you appreciate the effort. And the imp tells you that Satan had originally booked hell's hottest slapstick comedy duo, Cain and Abel, a pair of cyber demons. But they both got on the boat at the same time and it flipped up on its end like a horny dolphin and dumped Abel into the dock while Cain landed on the harbour, but the water got into his cybernetic legs and made him malfunction, and the last time anybody saw him he was sprinting down the coastline while trying to rip his own feet off. So you get to the docks and you say hey to the Beatles, who are sitting around on crates holding tire irons waiting for Paul McCartney, and you're surprised to see Ringo there, like, I didn't know you died, Ringo. He's like, oh yeah, because apparently he was murdered and replaced by his own reflection in 1968 while playing a Bloody Mary type game on Halloween with Lulu. She managed to kill her doppelganger with an ironing board and a curling iron, but the entire experience left her deeply disturbed, which is why she shouts all the time. But you get on the coach and after a 45-minute trip down the highway to hell, then the B197 to hell, then the roundabout to hell, then the A614 to hell, then Rainbow Pudding Lane for a bit because the dual carriageway is closed. You stop at the meadow of flaying because the imp needs a piss, and you're slightly bemused to see Bob getting his skin raked off of his dead grandmother's fingernails. But it turns out that half hour after you sent him home, he got hit and killed by a bus, which would have been far less suspicious if it hadn't happened in his living room, but hey ho, you got a job to do. So back on the coach, rejoin the A614 to hell, and finally you take the exit into Pandemonium. Now you've not got too long to look around because you've been warned to get yourselves gone before rush hour when the lost souls come pouring out of their menial factory jobs to go and get shit-faced down the pub, bump into the sergeants and start a giant fucking shootout that nobody ever survives. So you decide to hit the high street and see what demons do for fun. So you head into a clothes shop, Primark of the Beast, but you struggle to comprehend how any creature living or dead could wear anything on the racks. You approach the cacodemon assistant, clutching what appears to be a noose nailed to a plesiosaur rectum and a leather gimp mask for an octopus wizard, to get some insight, but it cannot speak without launching a pitiless barrage of electric death directly at your face. Your impressively swift reactions perfected in your days of interviewing the paranoid schizophrenics of the Portuguese royal family, as heavily inbred as they were armed to the teeth, save you from a pauper's funeral, but your camera and soundmen are not so lucky. You decide not to speak to anybody else and move across the street to a laundromat, where a former Marine is becoming increasingly agitated as he attempts to put his washing into a machine unaware that he is feeding it to a mischievous spectre who alternates between spitting it back out or eating it. As you wander a little further down the road, you begin to suspect high unemployment among the spectre community, as they seem only to hang around in gangs of 4 or 5 and inconvenience others by standing in front of shop doors or inhabiting phone booths while snickering loudly. You round off the afternoon with a trip to a canteen that Satan himself recommended to you for some traditional Luciferian dining, and are entirely unsurprised when the imp chef attempts to poison you, your survival solely down to a spectre eating your chips behind your back and dropping dead, while another attempted to distract you by urinating on your feet. Repulsed as you are with every fibre of living, breathing being at the shallow, hideous mockery of human existence, or perhaps instead what it is destined to become, you are forced to admit, in print, that it is better than fucking Sunderland. You're fired the next day by your editor, drink yourself into a deep depression, and attempt to shoot yourself in a field, but you drop the gun and blast yourself through the kneecap, alerting a pack of flesh-eating weasels to your location, who chase you for a mile and a half before finally overcoming you in an overgrown lay-by behind a kebab van. Your death is agonising. The end! Right, well, that took on most of the level. Thank you kindly, sir. And we're leaving with maxed out health and armour, all the guns, and a shed load of ammo. I fucking thank you, lovelies. We'll need it as we stumble blindly into the House of Pain. I said the House of Pain is in effect, y'all. I said the House of Pain is in effect. Brr, 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 brr. Pack it up, pack it in. Let me begin. Is this stage named after the Irish-American rap group? Maybe, but they themselves are directly named after Dr. Moru's blasphemous laboratory and the classic sci-fi novel, The Island of Dr. Moru, by H.G. Wells, where he creates twisted animal-human hybrids. Ooh. You can kind of see it here with all the holding cells along the wall. We're heading this way first for nothing more dramatic than, can you guess? Can you? The Berserk Pack! Well done you. Or did you skip ahead and cheat? Did you? Shame on you, lovelies. Scorn, dishonour and disrepute upon your houses. No, it's fine. I respect your ambition. What would Dr. Moru do with a cacodemon, I wonder? Hopefully nothing more innocent than giving man the gentle power of flight, but based on his existing work, you'd be ill-advised to bet against him trying to attach the entirety of the fucking thing to some poor bastard's neck. There were quite a few movies made out of the book, and best of them was probably The Twilight People with Pam Grier, but the most infamous was the 1996 movie with Marlon Brando and Val Kilmer. Man, don't even know where to fucking begin trying to explain that one to you. If you ever make the terrible mistake of watching it, find it to be an utterly incoherent cack shovel of shit from the most purebred of nonsense beasts, I'd urge you to look into the making of it, because it is a miracle that they even got the fucking absurdity that they did out of it. A lot of it stemmed from hiring Val Kilmer, who was notoriously insane, and Marlon Brando, who was either also notoriously insane or had just reached that point in his career when people's lives and jobs were little more than fragile toys to be crushed for his amusement. The studio fired the original director Richard Stanley after 4 days, at which point he apparently shredded every production document he could find, took a bunch of mushrooms he found in the jungle, and spent the rest of the shoot lurking around in a dog costume. He was already in a particularly fragile mood anyway, seeing as a hurricane had hit the production, while they were trying to bring animals over on a boat. Stanley got pissed on by an agitated puma. Marlon Brando found an ice bucket on set, wore it as a hat and refused to take it off. Seriously, it's in the fucking movie. He's sitting here wearing an ice bucket on his damn head. Then he refused to wear any pants, so the new director, John Frankenheimer, was forced to only use shots that had him from the waist up. Then he befriended a midget he met and demanded that he starred in the film with him. So he got given a bunch of some other actors' lines, who the midget would constantly try to physically attack like he was Brando's rabid pet chihuahua or something. Then they had to cancel an entire day's worth of filming because Brando and Kilmer would start having competitions over who could refuse to leave their trailer the longest. Oh, there's honestly so much more, but I don't want to ruin another entire map going off on a mad tangent. I think this is actually one of the better maps of the third episode, which are on the whole, quite weak. I mean, I see what they were going for with more of a chaotic and generally unnerving design ethic, but a couple of them, like Slough of Despair for example, are just a bit too high concept to stand up on their own like anything from the first couple of episodes, so the game starts to feel a lot more frustrating and bits and PC as you move towards the finale. You'll notice by now that with the sheer variety of monsters you get per level, it's getting more and more vital to be able to quickly assess the situation and pick the right tool for the job. Single mobs are easy enough, like Lost Souls get the chain gun, Pinkies get the chainsaw, most other stuff eats the shotgun, but you start to appreciate your rockets a lot more as a tool for rinse and splash damage out of confined spaces. I promise we'll use the BFG in a minute, we've got a lovely little clump of hell beasts coming up for that. But people treat the BFG like a panic button, which you can't be doing with the ammo it consumes. The plasma rifle is your panic button if you need it. That'll make short work of just about anything. See, I got the invisibility orb and I can't even do Invisible Chainsaw Man. They're robbing you of entertainment here, folks. I say we boycott Doom 2. When's that coming out? Alright, let's use the BFG. Ready? Gazoo, you fucks! Ah, so satisfying. Look at the big fucking mess that made. It's never as good as the first time you do it. It's like crack. Yes indeed, the BFG 9000 or Big Fucking Gun 9000, not Bioforce Gun like that piss awful Doom movie calls it, is an implement of the purest destruction, sharing an ammo pool with the plasma rifle, but eating up 40 cells every time you fire it. Mind you, lovelies, this is nothing short of a bargain, considering the balls shrivelling de-evolution that pulling the trigger unleashes, as it lets loose a gargantuan blast of energy that wallops whatever it comes into contact with for up to 800 hit points, with an average additional 2,500 points of damage spilling out from 40 tracer rays that erupt from the BFG itself after the projectile has been fired. This makes it an incredibly versatile WMD capable of dealing enormous damage at point blank range to single targets while effortlessly clearing a room of weaker demons out with the aforementioned rays. It is a fundamentally unstable beast of the most unthinkable and vicious invention. I love that gun. Let's put it away for a bit now. There's plenty more fun to be had with that later. Oh, it'd be so easy. Nah, rockets. We got loads of them. There was actually meant to be an even more powerful weapon in the game called the Unmaker. Now that finally showed up in Doom 64 as a weapon that did either tiny or ludicrous amounts of damage to the monsters depending on how pure-blooded they were, demonically speaking. So a demon would die in a single shot, but if you shot a zombie man with it, it wouldn't be anywhere near as effective. The BFG was originally meant to be so powerful that just firing it would damage you, and that came after its first revision where it was more a machine gun type weapon, or a plasma rifle on steroids as John Romero once described it, that shot a cheery looking array of green and red energy balls in quick succession. You can actually see that incarnation of it if you read the Doom comic, but there's so many reasons to read the Doom comic, so many hilarious fucking reasons. I don't even know if I want to ruin it for you. It's honestly one of those things that I would feel bad living with the idea that I'd somehow robbed you of the magic of reading. It's just... it cannot have come from a mind not drowning in a swamp of hallucinogens. It was produced as a giveaway for a gaming convention and then it got a reprint later on. You can read the whole thing online if you just Google Doom Comics Scan. I think Doom World have still got it up, but holy shit. I'll just tell you the first page because I know the entire thing off by heart. Okay, so 2 red text boxes at the top of the frame, right? And they say, "Who's a man and a half? I'm a man and a half. Berserker packing man and a half. There's nothing wrong with you that I can't fix. With my hands!" And the illustration is Doom Guy slamming his fist for an imp so hard that it's 6 feet off the fucking floor with a look on his face like he's having a ketamine seizure, screaming "Dynamite!" in a jagged red speech balloon like it's his new fucking catchphrase. I mean, I'm not going to ruin any more of it for you. You'll have to read it yourself. It's the best thing ever. Alright, we're nearly done here. Just got to punch a few pinkies to death and we're good. Dynamite! Dynamite! I'm a man and a half! There's nothing wrong with you that I can't fix. With my hands! Oh, fuck me. This will probably be the cut-off point for this week's Doomsday, so come back next Sunday for a trip to the unholy cathedral. Dynamite!